Roadster confirmed for Giga Texas production. Construction timelines for the test track now dictate whether Roadster prototypes reach 200 miles per hour validation before the 2025 supplier reviews. Shared motor production lines will face direct allocation conflicts with semi-volume targets. Battery cell yields must improve 15% or the entire schedule slips. Fleets waiting on Texas-built trucks lose another quarter of promised deliveries once the higher-margin program takes precedence. This forces contract manufacturers to decide between extending existing semi-tooling or bidding on new Roadster components. Optimus factory raises first steel at Giga Texas. Actuator supply lines must expand tenfold before the first pilot cells even open for business. Existing vendors lack the precision forging capacity for that volume at acceptable yields. Battery and joint suppliers face the same crunch on their own equipment. This forces them to either license designs to new partners or watch Tesla build captive lines that cut them out entirely within 18 months. Warehouse operators planning pilot programs now face 2027 delivery dates instead of the promised 2025. China court holds first hearing in FSD fraud suit. Beijing has shown no appetite for fast-tracking autonomy permits this year. 10 plaintiffs create a template other owners can copy across multiple provinces. This forces every domestic EV maker to scrub FSD-style claims from advertising copy or risk parallel litigation before year-end. The first court dates outside Beijing could come as soon as Q3. Marketing budgets shift toward hardware specs instead of software promises starting next quarter. Tesla advances Texas Megacharger projects for semi. San Antonio electrical work targets live power by May 2026. Laredo and Houston extensions follow within 12 months after that. Fleets operating between Dallas and the border gain an exclusive electric window that California routes will not see until new utility filings clear in 2027. Diesel operators in the state lose bidding edges on green contracts once the first corridor opens. Texas haulers can now underbid rivals on sustainability metrics. Cybercab drives itself out of Giga Texas factory. Factory floor autonomy reveals nothing about performance once the vehicle hits public roads, with construction zones and erratic drivers. Regulators in 3 states have already requested equivalent closed-course testing logs from every company claiming unsupervised operation. This raises the bar for Waymo and Cruise to produce matching footage or accept delayed permits past 2026. Internal safety teams must now document every edge case the factory loop never encounters. Tesla stock closes at $435.79 after volatile week. Short sellers added to positions for the third session running, even while the price refused to break lower. That setup usually precedes a delivery number that disappoints the bullish case built into June estimates. If Europe volumes come in light again, the borrow rates will spike and pull a handful of momentum names off the long side before the autonomy news flow restarts. Dark pool activity around 4:30 already shows the first rotation out of retail-heavy accounts. Cybercab production ramp visible at Giga Texas. Tooling changes spotted last month mean the first 500 units will carry revised suspension geometry that wasn't in the prototypes shown at the event. That revision shortens the supplier qualification window by at least 4 months and leaves legacy robotaxi programs at other firms with no time to copy the approach before volume hits the streets. Battery allocation meetings now favor the new pack format over everything else in the Texas factory. Waymo fleet expands in Texas versus Tesla robotaxi. Regulators signed off on the additional vehicles without requiring new safety benchmarks that still have to clear. That gap lets the competitor lock in municipal data contracts that treat the 2 fleets as interchangeable on paper. Insurance carriers are already modeling higher premiums for any operator that lacks 6 months of comparable incident logs. Release of Texas metrics by July is now required, or commercial operators will default to the thicker regulatory file. Musk outlines aggressive AGI timelines. The date itself is a signal to investors that compute contracts are already signed through the end of next year. That commitment pulls forward chip purchases that would have landed in 2027 and leaves every other lab bidding against a deeper pocket for the same wafers. NVIDIA's allocation meetings will get more contentious once the purchase orders hit the system. Smaller teams without similar balance sheets will see their lead times stretch another 2 quarters as a direct result. Megapack 3 production prep advances in Houston. Utility planners in California have already begun adjusting their 2027 resource plans to assume the new pack format ships at twice the density of the current version. That assumption moves storage ahead of gas peakers in the stack and forces two developers to renegotiate interconnection queues they thought were locked. The faster cycle time also means older sites will face earlier upgrade decisions once the replacement economics land in their models. Giga Texas multi-site construction progresses rapidly. The drone footage shows 4 distinct lines advancing together. Component orders are landing now for 2026 volumes that peak simultaneously across programs. Suppliers receive one qualification window before allocations shift to groups already running multiple lines. Cathode producers must commit fresh LFP capacity immediately. Those that delay will hand pricing leverage to Korean competitors who accepted the timeline without extra conditions. Contract minimums signed this summer will reveal who absorbed the compression. This approach locks material costs lower through 2028. FSD supervised approvals and rollouts continue. European approvals treat supervised operation as the stable product rather than a temporary phase. Regulators gain a repeatable liability model they can apply to other markets without demanding unsupervised proof first. GM and Ford must match the software update rate in those jurisdictions or lose the only large-scale real-world dataset regulators accept for future approvals. The gap in fleet learning widens every month legacy systems stay frozen. Australian filings already use identical language. SpaceX-Tesla merger speculation resurfaces. Speculation alone reprices the embedded optionality in both debt structures. Any actual merger would force Tesla suppliers to accept Starlink hardware as a standard contract condition. That clause shifts power from traditional auto parts companies to vendors with prior aerospace qualifications. Legacy shareholders face dilution paths that current models leave unpriced. Supplier RFPs issued in the next 2 quarters will show the first concrete shifts. The valuation impact lands before any filing. Optimus timeline and Fremont conversion updates. The decision to idle the Model S and X line creates a defined retraining window for the Fremont workforce. BMW and Mercedes now have until mid-2026 to lock in alternative humanoid suppliers or accept Tesla's production schedule as the industry benchmark. Any robotics firm still in prototype stage must either accelerate to match or target non-automotive verticals where timelines remain flexible. The first movers on those contracts set pricing for the entire sector. Second movers pay the premium. LFP battery and materials production ramping. Internal production of lithium and cathode materials changes the cost baseline for every energy storage bid. Fluence and Wärtsilä must now either develop their own upstream supply or absorb higher cell costs on utility-scale projects. The AI hardware angle adds another wrinkle as LFP cells sized for inference racks undercut external quotes enough to change procurement at the largest cloud providers. Pricing pressure surfaces first in North American RFPs. European tenders follow within 2 quarters once the numbers circulate. Tesla AI driving demonstrations highlight advances. The real test comes when these systems hit mixed traffic highways without chase cars. Tesla's mapping edge now compounds daily from every vehicle on the road. By early 2026, that data moat pushes operating costs per mile below what Waymo can match in the same cities. Regulators in Texas will face a clear choice: allow the cheaper fleet or protect higher-cost rivals. Most operators quietly start negotiating data-sharing deals instead of building their own stacks from scratch. Semi-testing and production milestones at Texas sites. Production numbers matter less than the charging curve. Sites in Texas already show Megacharger density rising fast enough to support 500-mile daily routes by late 2025. That timeline forces Penske to lock in Tesla depot deals before Daimler finishes its own network. Otherwise, their mixed fleet economics tilt permanently toward the Semi. Early adopters gain a scheduling advantage competitors cannot close without matching capex. Investors eye 2026 capex surge for AI and robotics. Negative free cash flow is the expected outcome when factories and fabs run in parallel. The $25 billion signals volume commitments that lock suppliers into multi-year deals. Samsung and TSMC now prioritize Tesla's inference chips over other automotive clients through 2027. That reallocation raises costs for legacy EV makers who waited on off-the-shelf silicon. Watch contract terms tighten for everyone else by mid-2026 as a direct result. Vehicle lineup and affordability strategies discussed. Current model year tweaks free up enough margin to subsidize the 2026 volume ramp. Hertz already faces pressure to convert portions of its order book to Cybercab commitments or lose priority allocation. Otherwise, they risk sitting on aging inventory while competitors with newer leases capture the lower per-mile operating costs. The affordability push therefore accelerates fleet turnover timelines across the board by early 2026. Tesla's broader AI and robotics cultural momentum builds. Media coverage still treats the robotics push as a future bet rather than an active hiring signal. Figure and Boston Dynamics now compete directly for the same controls talent pool in one city. That concentration drives up wages 15% inside 12 months. Energy storage margins absorb the increase while autonomy programs stay on schedule. Smaller labs quietly explore acquisition offers instead of independent funding rounds.